But I want to talk about this deal that we closed because it's our first deal in Ohio that we closed,
That's
and
awesome.
it was a big thing that happened this week. And I think I texted with you about this a little bit as it was happening, Jasper. But we got this deal, and it's a vacant lot in Ohio, and it's not anything special. It's just a small vacant urban infill lot, and we were wondering if it was even too small to build on. But there are houses on the same size lots, so we figured it was grandfathered in. But we had a really poor response from buyers. But again, my dispo has been kind of broken, so I'm not sure that that's totally accurate. But we got this thing in June under contract, and then we sold it. Eventually, we sold it in July. So I think we sold it in 3 or 4 weeks. And the way we sold it was with a neighbor letter, which is something I've talked about on this podcast before. But it is kind of like a little known secret or a dispo strategy that has a lot of magic in it and works a lot for vacant land. Um, we sell a lot of deals to neighbors, and the strategy is if you're not getting a lot of interest from buyers from your main sources, then you just send out letters to the neighbors and you say, hey, we got this lot next door to you or behind you or whatever. You interested? And they often call up and say, yeah, I've been wanting that
Yeah.
lot for years. I've been trying to get that thing for. So with this one, we sold it to the neighbor. He was ready to go. He'd been wanting that lot, and he was next door, so he didn't want somebody to build on that next to him, and he wanted bigger lot. So he's ready to go. But the one sticking point was that he always does his deals through a real estate agent, and he had to work with this real estate agent that he knows and trusts. And you know, this podcast is not about bashing real estate agents, but there are good ones and bad ones, just like there are good and bad wholesalers or other. And I shouldn't even say good and bad, but people have different standards of communication and work ethic and all those things. So this realtor got a hold of this deal and was very hard to communicate with. Very, would disappear for days or even weeks at a time and then come back in. Was telling us that we couldn't wholesale, we couldn't assign the deal. We had to do an ABBC, and that we had to pay her. We said we would pay her a commission, but a small commission on it, like just a flat fee. But anyway, she dragged her heels for weeks, and then she put us with a title company. And I don't know how much of the heel dragging was the title company or the agent, but it seemed like it was a little bit of both. And it just went on and on and on. And we put this under contract, I think early July, and then we're here mid-August, and we still are not closed. And it's just a little bit a lot,
Yeah.
And so we're rattling their cages, going, what's going on. And finally we get from there's things from the title company like, oh yeah, well, we just sent out for title, should be back in a week. And I'm like, you're the title company, where are you sending it out to? Like,
Right.
and so it was just like boggling my mind. And then we got a statement, like a preliminary quote of fees from the title company of 4 to 6 weeks into this process, and it was absolutely ridiculous. It was like, I think we were paying $2,700 for us to do ABBC, and I would expect high end would be 1,500 on the buy side. But then on the sell side, there's nothing you really need to do. It's like a deed prep and some taxes and stuff. So I'm not paying another settlement fee if you're doing ABBC the same day. And they
Yeah.
had another settlement fee. They had it at like 15, or I think they had like 1,600 on the AB side, and then like another 9 or something on the BC. And then we asked them to change it, and they shuffled stuff around, and they knocked off 100 or 150, and then it's another 2 or 3 weeks, and then they go, hey, we're ready to close on Monday. Here's your settlement statement, and it's Friday at 4:30. And and it was like $2,500-$2,600 in closing cost to us. And so of course I respond to them, and I'm like, we're not paying that, but it's 4:30 on Friday. And they had everybody lined up to close on Monday. So they're basically trying to strong arm us and just be like, we were thinking we're gonna feel the pressure and just sign this, and they could reach into our pockets and take all this money. And I just said
Yeah.
no. And then they reach out then Monday, I said no on email because that's how they sent it to me. And then Monday, I'm waiting to hear from them. I don't hear from them until late morning Monday. And we're supposed to, like the seller and buyer closing midday or something like that. And they're like, what are you going to do? Are you going to close this? And I was like, no, I'm not going to close this. Can you do it for under 1,500? And they're like, no, we've already discounted as far as we can. I was like, okay. And I just reached out to a couple other title companies, and Jasper, you gave me one, and the rep was gone. And then I tried to reach out to a new rep, and it was like a gauntlet of talking to some person to qualify me and take all my information and then maybe push me. And I actually hung up on the receptionist, not in an
Yeah.
kind of just clicked the phone, because they were just like, it was like a sales call. They're just qualifying me, asking me questions, and then the rep said, "We'll go on our website and we've got our fees calculator." And I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that. You had to create an account and to calculate your fees." So then I reached out to another title company that we had researched previously. This woman responds to me within 5 minutes. She says, "Oh yeah, I can do this for you. I can close it by Thursday. It's Monday. It's
Yeah.
Monday morning. So like, I'll get it closed Thursday." I'm like, "Okay, sure." And can you give us a quote of fees? She's like, "Oh yeah. And by the way, you should do this as an assignment. You don't need to do ABBC. You save a lot of money." So I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, sure, sounds good." And then we tell the buyer, like, we're switching title companies, and tell your agent, and the buyer and the agent were okay. And so this woman put this whole thing together, got everything done. She took care of the mobile notary and the FedEx and all that stuff, gave us our settlement statement. We ended up paying just the 500 we promised to pay the agent, and then some taxes. So we made an additional $1,700 on this deal by moving over to
Yeah.
this person. And she closed it on Thursday by noon on Thursday within three
That's
days.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the victory. And the moral of the story is shop around. Don't let attorneys or title companies tell you what's what. If you think it's wrong, you can switch. And even these people are trying to strong arm us because they're like, that could have created a domino effect. We could have pissed off the buyer. We could have pissed off the seller. It could have screwed up the deal. But on principle, for me, I was like, there's no freaking way I'm doing that. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to reach into my pocket, and that also their communication and their service were terrible. So
Yeah.
it was
That's
just
awesome.
an accumulation of things. But anyway, the victory is we closed our first deal in Ohio. We found an amazing title person who now I feel confident going into Ohio and closing deals because I've got a strong title person to work with, and
Hmm.
proof of concept for Ohio, right? And we made $1,700 more than we were going to make on that deal, and it was not a big profit deal, but it was a huge win just to make extra, just to close one and make the extra money. So
Yeah.
anyway,
That's great. That's a great story.
that's my story. Yeah,
Yeah.
it took some playing chicken with the title company, and they played chicken back, and they probably just are like, if we can't get at least $2,600 on a closing, we're not doing it. So I'm like, that's fine, but that's taking way too much of the profit on a deal that's already a low profit deal for us. So we're not
Yeah.
doing
As closely resembles one of our attorneys in North Carolina that you and I work with.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. The fees were just insane. And you could see all the junk fees on there. That's just like, you
Yeah.
can't charge me settlement fee here, settlement fee there, title work here, title work there. You can't, duplicate all these
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
that are already covered the first time around, but they were just doing it. And so I'm just like, okay.
That's
But
crazy.
yeah.
Well, yeah, kudos to you for shopping around and making yourself a bunch more money. That's awesome.
Yeah, huge win.
So
And like I
anyone,
said, now we're confident to go into Ohio because we do have that proof of concept and we have a great title person. So shout out to Holly. There, it's PM Title is the company, uh, and she was just great. She just rocked it. So we told her we're
yeah,
bringing all our deals to her going forward in Ohio.
that's great. Well, anyone who's listening, Holly PM Title, if you're going into Ohio,
Yeah,
just
Holly
reach
Albaugh,
out.
I think is her last name. She's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. And
Yeah.
it's exciting to hear that your business is on the upswing, selling deals every week, closing stuff.